This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
This week on Off the Record, Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools finally start using metal detectors to search students for guns. So why are they pulling names out of a hat to decide which schools get checked? Also, major security measures coming to Charlotte for a big event uptown, but it's not a political convention or a presidential visit. We'll talk about what's causing all the fuss. Charlotte City Council setting their goals at the annual city budget retreat, how to spend all that housing money, and how to solve South End's traffic problems. And speaking of goals, Charlotte kicking around the idea again of a Major League Soccer team here. Off the Record's next on PBS Charlotte. Hi, I'm Jeff Sonnier. This is Off the Record, where we talk about the stories you've been talking about this week. And if you watch the news, read the news, or listen to the news, you'll recognize the names and faces around our table. Dedrick Russell from WBTV and Mark Becker from WSOC-TV. Thanks for being here. Also, Eli Portillo of the Charlotte Observer and Ashley Fahey of the Charlotte Business Journal. Thank you for being here. Thank you at home for joining us as well. You can also join our conversation. Just email your questions, comments, and right swipes to offtherecord at WTVI.org. Charlotte-Mecklenburg school security. Let's start there because we talked a little bit about it last week in anticipation of what happened this week. I want to start with the optics of that, what I mentioned, taking names out of a hat. They literally chose the schools to be checked with these metal detectors by what looked a lot like, the lotto drawing.
Exactly, exactly. And I guess,
what was that all about?
Yeah, I guess transparency rules the day, even though the optics may have looked like, a raffle drawing, things like that.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, CMS just wanted to make sure that the first school we check is not an inner city school full of African-American students. So therefore, in order to, the optics to make sure that they look like that they're being transparent and they didn't, choose a school because we think that we're going to find something there, let's all put all the names in a glass bucket and let's pick it out so everybody can see that how we got to the first school that we checked.
Well, why not just go to Myers Park then? I mean, why not dispose with the optics? And if they're really concerned about what it looks like if the first school is an inner city school, why not go to a school that doesn't have that vibe?
I guess they could have, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I think you probably won't see that again. I mean, I think that's probably one and done. But I do think that the first week has gone extremely well. There was one pepper spray or something found yesterday. But for the most part, the parents we spoke with on the first day at Garinger were thrilled. Every single one said, this is awesome. I don't have a problem with it. And I think it's a win-win so far for the school system. I do think it was a little awkward how they kicked it off. But at the end of the day, I think everybody feels good about where it is. The question is that enough? 4 classrooms in each school. That's a very small sample. My guess is they're going to probably stay with that or stay close to that unless and until they find they're missing something. You do the search at school X, and later in the day, you find a gun there. Well, then maybe you've got to rethink it.
And I guess they want to send a strong message to students: do not bring anything you're not supposed to bring here to school, because you never know where I may pop up. I may pop up in your math class. I may pop up in the science class. So therefore, you never know where I'm going to pop up. So therefore, since you don't know, don't bring anything to school that's going to get you into trouble. And I think that that's the message that they're trying to deliver.
And I think that having just a small sample of classrooms searched really illustrates that this is in some ways more of a deterrent effort than a detection effort. And given that, I think in one case it took about an hour. In another case, they said that they searched the classrooms, took about 8 minutes each, so a little more than half an hour. I think that does illustrate that it will be very costly and time-consuming if they were to expand this to be comprehensive checks of every high school on a regular basis. So I think that given the time and expense we've seen in this early rollout of the effort, we're probably going to see more deterrent efforts than comprehensive detection.
Yeah. The school spokesman mentioned that what's going to happen in the schools is very much, this is a quote, much like what happens at CMS football games, which we've talked about around this table before, which again raises the question of, the parents seem to be satisfied with what's happening. The kids don't seem to be overly disturbed by what's happening. So why are, what's the fear? What's the concern? Why all the angst about transparency? And I mean, to me, ultimately, they're trying to make the schools safer, all the schools safer, not just the inner city schools or the
right.
outer suburban schools.
And I talked to a legal expert about that, and I guess what they're trying to do is protect students' rights. So that's why they want to make sure you dot every I and cross every T. And as the legal expert told me, that students have a right to go to school. Mm-hmm. They don't have the right to go to a football game. So therefore, we could do anything we want to do when you go to the football game. Okay. But when you go to school, we have to make sure that we're not targeting, and when those surveys come out that, African Americans are twice as likely to be checked, then, so they want to make sure that all of that doesn't come out and then bite them in the end.
Yeah. Again, the parents do seem to approve of what's happening, and that would seem to, at least in my mind, supersede what any experts might be saying
and it's all about
rights
safety.
or being violated or being
They don't want
respected.
Butler High School to happen again. It's all about safety.
And I think we can pick it apart, and I do think it will probably evolve and be changed a little bit. But at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think it's been pretty well received. And we'll see where it goes. But I expect it will continue.
Yeah, I want to make one more point. This is a quote from Wilcox, Clayton Wilcox, the school superintendent. He says, "I want our students to know that I feel school's a sanctuary. It's a safe place for them, and it's incredibly hard to convey that feeling when you have kids marched into metal detectors and wanted. This is in many ways kind of a gross indignity that we are subjecting them to." Why not try to normalize this instead of trying to make it, frankly, worse than it really is? I mean, if it's almost like they're setting up a system to protect the schools and then undermining that system by these, or apologizing for it even before it gets started. I don't understand why you wouldn't just normalize it like so many other security measures have been normalized in our society. I don't understand.
I was there when he made the comments, and again, most of what he was saying, he went along. He was there at Garinger High School. He was very complimentary of the staff and the security people and the students both. But I think he's just trying to recognize probably, well, very certainly publicly, that it is something new and it's something maybe a little uncomfortable for people, and he doesn't want people, saying, "Oh, you're violating my rights." My kids always used to say that I was violating their rights. But I think he's trying to be sensitive, maybe going a little too far with that.
Well, I think in our society we have seen a creeping normalization of enhanced security, especially since 9/11. We have to take off our shoes to go through airport lines a lot of times. There's the controversy over full body scanners at the TSA.
Sure.
You have to, go through metal detectors to get into almost any public building now. I think that there is, especially for people who didn't grow up with that, a loss of innocence for a lot of people. When you start wanding students for guns, you are implicitly saying, we think that there are guns in schools, which is psychologically disturbing for a lot of people. And I think that, for students who are now being told you're going to be searched to be in school, I can understand why some of them would rebel a little against that and be disturbed by it.
Yeah. And I think it's an image thing because he is an educator, so he had to say that. But then, as the superintendent, as the leader of 150,000 students, as your leader, I have to say I believe in you. I believe that you won't cause harm. So I guess even though he had to say that. That even though I think that this is going to be gross, whatever, he had to say that as the leader. The students have to believe their superintendent believes in them. So I think that was just part of the script that he had to say that.
Sort of like the nurse used to say when she gave me a shot, "This hurts me more than it hurts you."
I stopped believing that.
Ouch.
Hey, speaking of security, we heard this week about what security is going to be like uptown for the NBA All-Star Game, which is not this weekend, but next weekend. Before we talk about security, Ashley, let's talk about the financial impact of this event that is very much on the radar for sports fans, but kind of off the radar for a lot of other folks in Charlotte.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have been saying this impact is going to be closer to the DNC than maybe the CIAA, just with the number of people that are expected to come here. And with us having lost it in 2017, you know, a lot of people are anxious to get the revenue that they would have gotten back 2 years ago this year. So, yeah, there's a lot of excitement and anticipation. The CRVA has predicted $100 million in impact. You know, those numbers are sometimes hard to qualify, but you know, they're saying potentially up to $100 million in spending and direct and indirect impacts. So yeah, I mean, 6,000 hotel rooms a night booked, and projections are very high. It's going to be a busy, crazy weekend in Uptown for sure, but I think businesses are excited for it.
Yeah, I talked to a hotel manager who was talking about what the business they lost 2 years ago when the NBA moved this event out of Charlotte because of HB2. He said in one day, one phone call, they lost $500,000 in bookings at his hotel alone. So those are the bookings that are back in town now, and that's a big payday for all those hotels and everything in the tourism business. That being said, get ready for what could be a very different feeling uptown for next weekend, for most of next week, I suppose. The security measures, can we compare them to the DNC?
Not quite, I don't think. I mean, there was that perimeter with the DNC, remember, DNC to get through. But it's going to be crowded. And anytime you have a lot of people downtown, they're moving the transit center. That's you know, front and center, I guess. They're going to move that temporarily for a few days. So you won't have that congestion there. I think, frankly, there's maybe a little bit of the image as well as to, you know, the folks who are at the transit center won't be there for the most part, but they're going to be police there. There'll be police everywhere. You can bet on that. Streets are going to be closed, so it's going to be a bit chaotic. At very least. Right?
And the Blue Line too, you know, the arena stop will be shut down from 5 p.m. onward on the nights. And of course, most of the events are going to be taking place at the Spectrum Center. So passengers will have to get off at 7th Street or 3rd Street and be searched.
Yeah, I was fascinated by that. If you're on the train, you'll have to get off the train, be searched before you get back on the train and go through Uptown past the arena.
Yeah.
That's a pretty strict measure when it comes to security, and it's going to touch a lot of people.
And there will also be restrictions on large bags, suitcases, things like that in the areas around events, and that could affect business travelers, people who are, you know, maybe not fully aware of that. You know, you see Uptown workers all the time with large backpacks and gym bags, so I'd imagine there will be some confusion and probably some maybe not chaos, but at least a little bit of consternation around these events.
And that's why they're asking, you know, workers, the bosses, to tell your workers, you don't have to come downtown. You know, work from home because
on the 15th,
exactly. So so it's just going to be
telecommute Friday. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, and you know, in addition to the tens of thousands of All-Star Game visitors, there are the 100,000 or so people who work uptown, and that'll be interesting to see how many of them come to work and deal with crowded restaurants, full parking decks, all these impacts that the city's working about, right?
Or if they'll just stay home. And
Yeah,
work
good luck
from home.
finding a table or or waiting in line for whatever restaurant you're trying to get into when all those NBA people are trying to get into those same restaurants, I suppose.
And Bojangles Coliseum, too, Independence Boulevard,
Right. Yes.
is going to be a little nuts on Friday, probably. So.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see if you know, the projections in 2017, will they be higher this year than we projected in 2017?
And we all know New Orleans, they brought in $45 million when they hosted the All-Star Game, which is a bit off from $100 billion. So I'm curious to see, you know, what the outcome will be.
The one thing I wonder about the security is, I mean, I wonder if it's overkill. I mean, I assume that the NBA says this is what we want in terms of security. That being said, I know there's going to be CEOs here and celebrities and all that, but I'm not sure that, you know, the CIAA brings in 100,000 plus visitors. The ACC tournament will bring in probably that many as well. I don't necessarily see the NBA game as more of a security threat than those two other big events that will follow on its heels.
I think that's one of those things you won't know till you get there.
Yeah.
Right? If you walk downtown and you feel like you're in a police state, that's a problem. You know, you want to have this open, and you want Uptown to be what it is, you know, most days. You want it to be welcoming. And if you walk and you feel like you're just in that police environment, that's a problem. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know that we'll know that
And I think it's an image thing because here, once again, Charlotte is on the big stage.
Right.
Charlotte is prime time. This is prime time. So therefore, Charlotte leaders want to attract other big events, other sporting events. So therefore, if we can tell the world that we can handle the DNC, we can handle the All-Star, we can handle this, and nothing, catastrophic happens, then if we can handle that, then my God, bring your business here to Charlotte because we're more than capable of doing it. So I think not only is it, I think it's just an image thing that we just want to send that message out to the world that we got it going on.
Right, because all it takes is one incident, unfortunately, to cancel a lot of that goodwill and replace that positive narrative.
And it's all about, and that money will leave, and we don't want that money to leave again.
It does show you how the world has changed, though. The last time the NBA came here for the All-Star game was in the early 90s. It was in the middle of the Iraq War. It was at the old Coliseum out on Billy Graham and not at Spectrum. But, in a very high security time then as well, I don't think folks really felt security at all. I was here for that event, and it was a different world after, I guess, everything changes after 9/11, but it does show you kind of maybe how big the event's gotten, but also maybe how much more sensitive everyone's gotten to the whole idea of security around big events.
No question, it's changed a lot. My daughter was born the day after the All-Star game, by the way. That was I remember. He interviewed Patrick Ewing. My wife interviewed Patrick Ewing the night before, and then they had a baby. Connection there. I don't know.
Thank you, Patrick.
But in any case,
Big weekend.
she's grown up, and I think we have as well. Not it is. It's almost sad how we have to worry about that kind of stuff.
But one interesting thing is it'll be interesting to see how many locals take advantage of the NBA, because some people may say, I just don't want to be bothered going through all of that. So, so I know we bring things here so that everybody can enjoy. But it'd just be interesting to see how many Charlotteans, how many people who live in Charlotte actually go and enjoy and take in the festivities, or is it just going to be outsiders just taking over?
By this time next week, we'll have a sense of what it's all feeling like. We'll talk about it some more. How's that?
Yeah.
Hey,
where's your party?
Huh?
Where's your party?
Well, it's an undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location.
We have very high security around that, okay?
I got you.
Patrick Ewing is invited, though.
Yeah, there you go. We don't need more babies.
Charlotte City Council was out of town this week talking about their goals for the next year or so. It's always billed as a budget retreat, but they really talk about things beyond just monetary. But as usual, one of the top topics was housing, affordable housing. They've got $50 million to spend, and now we're starting to hear from council members how that money might be spent. They'll bring us up to date on where we are and what new or different things they might have talked about at the
So voters approved $50 million in housing bonds in November. Since then, Foundation for the Carolinas has also started to raise more money for a matching fund from private sources, and they have $21 million out of $50 million that they plan to spend.
Wow.
So combine that, and they're hoping to have a $100 million pot total. But what we saw this week is that I think there's still a lot of dissension on City Council about how exactly to spend that. We need somewhere in the neighborhood of 24,000 affordable housing units, depending on which estimates you use. And Council's been told that that $100 million will finance roughly 2,200, so a little under a tenth of the way there. And City Council, they're trying to figure out how to spend that money and get the most impact, whether they should try to buy older properties and save them from being demolished, whether they should develop new properties as affordable housing units, and who's going to be in charge of managing that money.
There's a sense among some council members that doing it the old way, just building housing, isn't the most effective way to use $20 million. Talk about the pitfalls of doing it different ways, or the new ways that they're talking about as well, with partners and all that.
Yeah, for sure. So, of course, the cost of construction is sky high right now. So theoretically, if you look at it just from a basic standpoint, mathematical standpoint, what it would cost to build new housing obviously is going to be significantly higher than what it would cost to buy an older property, put some covenants in there to protect the income restrictions, and rehab it a little bit, not to make it market rate, but to make it basic safety and health standards. So yeah, there's been a whole big discussion around naturally occurring affordable housing, and could our money go farther if we do more investment in that, and can we get these units preserved quicker, which you can. And also when you talk about things like building new, you need so many streams of revenue, or streams of financing, I should say, to get those projects off the ground. You need loans, you need probably some kind of land subsidy, whether it's a donation or some kind of ground lease. You need so many things just to make these projects work.
And also, one of the things that the city's planning to do is to partner with a New York-based nonprofit called the Local Initiative Support Coalition. They would come into Charlotte and actually manage how this money is spent, and that made some on City Council uncomfortable. Traditionally, City Council has vetted affordable housing deals one at a time with developers and then either given them the go-ahead or not. LISC, as this group is called, would have a much bigger role, and some City Council members said that they don't like that idea and they don't really understand how it would all work with an outside group and the city and private donors and bond money all financing this. So I think it's a very complicated initiative that probably has a lot more work to be done on it behind the scenes than we've seen so far.
Yeah, didn't they take a straw vote to say that they will go with LISC?
Yes, it got
They've
to the
committed to it, right?
Yeah.
They have, but this discussion this week got contentious enough that Mayor Vi Lyles actually basically put her foot down and said, we need to know if you're on board with this.
Right.
Let's take a straw vote and see, because if we're not on board with this, we need to know right now so we can change directions. And they did unanimously approve that in a straw vote.
Wow.
You know, there are a lot of things they need, but what they need, if you're talking about new, is land and
Right.
where. That's the
Yeah.
big question.
Right.
Everybody's for affordable housing. Are we going to put it in your, well, are you really? And A, there's the cost of the land. I mean, that's
That's
huge.
prohibitive enough.
Yeah, and then you've got the political cost of the land as well. So great theory. The implementation is going to be real tricky, though, and maybe that's if you bring in an outsider, maybe they can look at it more, objectively.
Yeah, and this discussion all takes place at the same time that values of properties across Charlotte are rising, in particular in some of the neighborhoods where folks can least afford to pay more for that housing. That was a story that you did this week, Eli.
Yeah, so we mapped out where the revaluation has had the biggest impact, and the crescent of neighborhoods around Uptown from Biddleville, Druid Hills, Greer Heights, Belmont, Optimist Park, Villa Heights, a lot of these neighborhoods that have historically had lower income residents and have historically been majority black saw their property values absolutely skyrocket, more than double on average, up to an average of 155% increase. In a lot of cases, they tripled or more than tripled, and that's because of gentrification and the influx of new residents and new construction that's really fundamentally changing these.
So no matter how much the city council and the county commission lower taxes to offset the higher rates, it's not really going to lower the costs of these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And again, we're back to the point where these are the folks that can least afford it, and these are the folks that are going to ultimately pay the largest percentage, or have to pay the biggest bills in the end.
And in a lot of these neighborhoods, home ownership rates are 50% or lower, so that means there's a big renter population, and homeowners can appeal and seek to have their values lowered. Renters don't have that option. The owner of the house can pass on the rent, pass on tax increases in the form of higher rent, or they can look at the new value and say, I've owned this long enough, it's time to sell it, and the renters just have to move. So that's something that they're going to have to wrestle with as they set these new tax rates.
Yeah, talking about a lot of moving pieces, it's really a puzzle that really doesn't have an answer right now. Wasn't part of the city council's retreat, but you did a story, Ashley, about traffic in South End and what the city can and can't do to solve that problem.
Yeah, so I've been following this for a while, and traffic's an ongoing issue throughout the whole region. We all know that. But I think the story in South End is very interesting because it's been historically an industrial neighborhood, and we're seeing a huge amount of density coming to the neighborhood. We've seen mid-rise apartments to start the cycle, but now we've got office towers coming. We've got almost 1 million square feet of office planned coming in the next couple of years. And the big question has been, well, what are these secondary roads? How are they going to handle this influx of cars? One project is going to go from, I think, like 950 trips per day to more than 9,000 trips per day with the proposed zoning. So it's nuts, and that's just one project.
It's exactly what the city's wanted to do in South End, but it appears that they're not entirely prepared for what they wanted.
Well, and I've talked to CDOT about this, and they keep saying, multimodal, because in South End we have the transit line, we have the rail trail. There's a lot of options to get in and around the submarket, but the reality is an office worker who might live in South Park who does not live along the blue line is going to drive in. So, now you've got these massive parking garages sort of over these small roads, and CDOT's told me they don't really want to focus too much on road improvements, but they definitely want to do something with bikes and transit, encouraging that use. So developers, of course, during rezonings have done their own sort of modifications, but there's going to be a lot coming, and I don't know if people are necessarily seeing that. We're seeing that a little bit now, but it's only going to get worse.
Traffic's that whack-a-mole problem. You hit it here, it's going to pop up somewhere else. You hit it there, it'll pop up over here. So,
growing pains.
Hey, last couple of minutes, or last minute or so, they're talking about soccer again. Really?
Taking it down the road.
It's the topic that keeps coming up.
And I guess with the new owner of the Panthers, Tepper, I guess he's interested in that as well.
That changes the dynamic.
And that's a huge deal, because MLS wants someone like a NFL team owner clout. They need that kind of clout to build up their empire.
And a stadium that already exists versus starting over or spending multi-millions to build. That was the last proposal we saw, renovating Memorial Stadium at a price that most taxpayers weren't willing to swallow. This is obviously going to be a little bit more affordable, I suppose, if David Tepper's stadium is where we're talking about.
If Tepper's all in, it's all about the money, right? Having said that, a lot of cities around the country really going for MLS right now. Cities that don't have major league franchises, or maybe have one. I would be surprised if we have one in 2 years.
I think there's a strong keeping up with the Joneses aspect, mentioning other cities. Look at the cities that have gotten MLS franchises recently. Austin, Cincinnati, Nashville. These are cities that Charlotte leaders view as peers and competitors. And for them to have MLS while we don't, I think that really stings a lot of city leaders, and they're willing to keep trying to get that changed.
And I think it's all about diversity too, because if we want to be a city that attracts everybody, we have to offer things that can attract a diverse group of people. So if you attract diversity, then you have diverse money, and diversity money is all green. So I think that is the main thing that you want to do. You want to make sure you offer offer lifestyles and things that people can come here to Charlotte.
We're going to make that the last word this week because we're out of time. Thank you all for joining us here at Off the Record. Thank you for joining us at home. Again, you can always email us at offtherecord@wtvi.org with your comments and questions. We'll see you next time on Off the Record.
A production of PBS Charlotte.